How you guys doing? Thanks so much, especially all my support for showing up. My minimum was 5. She's like, you got like 30-some people here, so thank you guys. There's plenty of sympathy. Thank you, Snappers, for the opportunity. This is also my first time doing stand-up comedy, so the goal is for me to tell jokes and you guys to laugh, so let's try it. All right, so I love being in Florida. I used to not like it because I'm a big dude and you get hot, and it's hot here all the time, right? But I love the conversations that happen in Florida ever since I moved here. I love the way that people talk about stuff like the Gators behind their house. They talk about how big they are, like it's their honor roll student, and they're really pumped about that. And that's awesome. I love the fact that even this morning I heard conversations about that it's 60 degrees, and people that are not scared of 130 mile an hour winds are more concerned about the fact that it's 60 degrees. That doesn't make sense to me because I love it when it's cool, right? When I was a young kid, I dreamed about retiring one day and having like my dream car. And now that I live in Florida, I can't wait for my dream golf cart that I can trick out. I think that would be absolutely amazing. I love the conversations that we have in Florida. It's so much fun. And I don't know about you guys, but I use humor as a way for me to deal with being uncomfortable. Like right now, you know what I mean? So sarcasm, those kinds of things, they just help me. So a couple places where I feel really uncomfortable. One of them is the dentist. Anybody like the dentist? Oh. My dentist loves me sometimes, but she doesn't always like my reviews. And I don't know why, because I always talk about how awesome she is, so I'm just going to share one of my reviews. I'd like to give a shout out to Anxiety for giving me the opportunity to take enough Novocaine to put down a semi-truck. That's what you get for doing dental work on a rhino. I don't always get teeth ripped out of my face, but when I do, I always go with a highly trained professional. 10 out of 10 would recommend, even though you occasionally leave bloody and toothless. That's a true story that happened 3 weeks ago. Nothing humbles me and gives me anxiety quite like the dentist. And I have a great one. Her team is amazing. But when they're sticking needles, gardening equipment, power tools, along with all of their hands in my mouth, with the occasional swipe of an industrial power washer and a high-octane shop vac, it puts me in my place. And I'm surprised that bill collectors, government agencies, and the cartels have not added this to their toolkit for confessions and negotiations. Is that a good review? I think that's a solid review. Another place that I use this amazing gift of humor is when I go to the airport and go through the TSA. Anybody like the TSA? Well, listen, let me tell you something. If you really are not feeling loved, I highly recommend that you gain weight and wear baggy clothes to go to the airport. Because every time I go through the TSA, they just want to love on me. It's amazing. And so I go through, and the thing is I can't help but be sarcastic because I'm uncomfortable, and they start asking crazy questions. It's the only place anybody's ever asked me this question. Walk through, sir, can you please stand over here? Sure. There's some things going on the scan. There's a lot of scan. There's a lot of yellow stuff going on in this area. So before we begin, would you like to go to a private room? So here's the thing. I'm married, and I love Jesus. You're not going to have your way with this big and sexy guy by yourself. Okay? So if we're going to do this in public. So we're going to do it. And then I like the fact that they start asking more crazy questions. Well, there's a lot going on down there in your sensitive areas. We talked about like before, your sensitive areas. Before we get started, just a quick question. Is there anything in your pants we need to be aware of? How do you want me to respond to that? I can't help but be sarcastic when you ask me that question. So last time I just went to the airport a couple of weeks ago, the guy that was doing all this stuff was red-haired. I've never seen any of my ginger friends turn redder than their hair. It is amazing. We're going through the process. Then they tell you how they're going to do it. So we're going to do this, then we're going to do this. A couple weeks ago, my skin came up red in my sensitive area. He said, I've never seen red on there before. I said, me either. He said, you sure there's not something in there? I said, we'll find out, I guess, right? He said, okay, we're going to go ahead and do this. And so I just asked nicely, I have anxiety. Can you put on some jazz music? It helps me calm down. They never do. So I'm getting felt up by this dude, and the lady's just standing there cracking up at all of my jokes. Sometimes my wife is awkwardly standing off to the side. Why am I here with that guy? It's awesome. And they just keep doing their thing. And I'm like, hey, I really appreciate you showing me my attention, but you're taking me to third base. You haven't asked my name. Nobody's offered me a cigarette. This is really awkward. And then we get through that whole thing. We finally get through all of that. And I'm like, man, I was like, I don't even know what to do. I was like, but here's the thing. Being a kid that was raised in church, I was told not to have sex till you get married. And you guys are feeling all up on my parts like a kid at a buffet. And I'm that kid. I am that big kid at a buffet. I love food. And here's the thing. I've been working really, really hard on my health. I really have. I've been working really hard on my health. But I want to close with giving you a couple of advantages of being a big guy. One time I was on an airplane, and there was a little girl that was crying like crazy. She was scared to death. It was her first flight. I said, listen, if anything happens, hold on to me. She said, why? I said, I'm a highly flotational device. She didn't get it, but her mom got it. And it helped the whole situation. But for real, number one advantage to being a big dude, I'm hard to kidnap. 6 years ago, this is a true story. When I first moved here, somebody that was in charge of taking care of me, a girl, she called me. I moved here the week of Hurricane Irma. Great week to move to Florida, right?
Oh, yeah.
And so she's like, there's no power, there's no AC. Being a big guy, I'm already sweating thinking about that. And she's like, we found a spot for you to stay with AC, which I love, right? Because I'm built for winter. I got my own furnace walking around. And she said, hey, I'm going to come pick you up. I said, let me get settled. Let me put my stuff away. Let me kind of figure stuff out. And she's like, no. She's like, I want to come pick you up. And I said, give me a few minutes. She calls again. I'm really scared about where you're at. You know, our offices are kind of in a tough part of town. And I said, listen, I'm from Baltimore. I'll be okay. And I'm a big dude. I'm okay. And then finally she called. She said, I'm on my way. I said, what are you so afraid of? She said, I'm afraid they're going to kidnap you and put you in the trunk. Exactly. And she's met me before. I said, listen, if they get me in a truck, I really messed up. They're supposed to take me. All right, number two, advantage to being a big dude, better car rentals. All right, better car rental deals. Pre-COVID, I would fill out the car rental for a compact car. Nothing compact about this, right? The only thing compact about my life is my bank account. So I would go there, I'd go into the garage, and the guy would come up, and I'd give him my paper, and he'd look at the paper, and he'd look at me, and he'd look at the paper, and he'd look at me, and look at the compact car, and he'd look at me. And here's the thing. Now, this is unwritten, and you don't have a coupon code for this. He said, just follow me and walk me over to my SUV, my minivan. That's called the big and sexy discount. But it's not listed anywhere. Another advantage. Second to last advantage to being a big dude. When I was a kid, being raised in church, we learned that our bodies are the temple of the Holy Spirit. So when I would get in a fight with my brothers or a kid at church, I would remind them, there's a whole lot of Jesus in here. So when you're fighting me, you're fighting him. It's not just me. I don't know about you guys, but I love laughter because it's good medicine. It helps me deal with really awkward things. And there was a season in my life when I couldn't find something to laugh about. So I'll close with this thought. As long as there's a TSA, you don't have to be lonely another day. My name's Jimmy Akers. Thank you.
Give it up for the incredible Jimmy Akers!